Now that finals week has finally come to an end, and thank God for that, because I literally just finished my last final and I'm ready to just get back into YouTube, back into what I enjoy doing, not just taking tests for hours on end. And this video specifically, I wanted to talk about one thing that has carried me through the middle of the semester when I first got it, all the way through finals week and finishing off the semester, hopefully with some amazing grades. And if you can't already tell from the title, the description, the thumbnail, basically every aspect about this video, I'm talking about the MacBook Air M1. And this is the base edition. I didn't buy any of the upgrades. I kept it strictly the base $1,000 or $900 with the education discount model for the MacBook Air. Now, I have a tendency of making obscenely long videos, so I'm gonna try and just jump straight into this one and talk about my 11 major points of why I love and sort of dislike the MacBook Air M1. I'm gonna split this up into pros and cons, and let's not waste any more time. Let's just jump into the first point, which is the app ecosystem for the MacBook M1. And what I mean by that is the app ecosystem in terms of things being optimized specifically for Apple's new ARM architecture. And it's not Apple specific, it's just ARM architecture in general. So as we all know, not every app was specifically built for the new architecture, and a lot of apps are still running on x86 like Microsoft Office, the whole Adobe suite, and a lot of apps that are vital in today's age, such as Zoom or any software that you might need for your classes or your professional life. And Apple has you covered for that. Now, I was a little bit sketchy when I first heard of this. They're using Rosetta 2, which is very, very well known, but it's something that Microsoft with their Surface Pro X tried to do in the past. And they didn't fail, but they really just weren't doing that well. Stuff like Photoshop was shown to be really, really choppy. Premiere Pro was shown to be really choppy. And overall, anything that wasn't built specifically for the Surface Pro X, which at the time was basically nothing, it just didn't really run that well. The device looked beautiful, it had great battery life, but you couldn't do much with it. I had my same doubts with this laptop about the app ecosystem, but using Rosetta 2, whatever Apple did differently has been working really, really well. The Office suite works perfectly, the Adobe suite works perfectly, Zoom works perfectly, Discord works perfectly. Basically, every app I tried works amazing. The one thing that it's probably not optimized for is battery life, since it's running this whole translation in the behind the scenes of the laptop. But Apple has been really good at getting developers to update their apps for the MacBook M1 specifically. So we've been seeing a lot more of that. One really good point for that is Final Cut Pro itself. Now, yes, this is an Apple specific app, so obviously it's gonna be optimized, but I can edit 4K footage in real time, scrubbing through. It's amazing. It's crazy how efficient and how great this thing works. And after editing one of my videos, about 15 minutes of editing, like the clip I mean is 15 minutes, exporting it, I only would lose about 15% of battery life, which is pretty much unheard of. That's like 2 hours of editing and then exporting and only losing 15%. It's amazing. Now this is gonna bridge our way to the second point that I wanna talk about. And hopefully I didn't waste too much time on the first one, but we'll see. The second point that I wanna talk about is the battery life itself. Now, I touched on this in the first part, but the battery life is actually insane. The reason why I loved using my iPad specifically all the time was because the iPad was really, really great for just general computing and just stuff that you don't really need a full-blown laptop for, and you can get the work done with the iPad. But the one thing that really made the iPad feel like an iPad, besides the touchscreen and the pen and all that fun stuff, is the battery life. Battery life on the iPad lasts all day easily. I don't have to worry about bringing a charger with me or getting anything ready besides just picking up the iPad, picking up the Magic Keyboard, and just going on my merry way. Now take the battery life of this iPad and put it into the MacBook, and you get something that's completely different. So if you take this MacBook and you throw in the battery life from the iPad Pro into it, you get such an efficient device that just sips battery life doing whatever you're doing. I think Apple advertised it as 17 or 18 hours. I'll put a little overlay about the correct amount, but this battery life alone has made me want to use this thing literally all the time. It's amazing at what it's doing just for the battery life itself and how efficient this thing is in getting work done. Now, the third point I want to talk about is the Instant On. Now, I'm not a MacBook user besides this one, so correct me if I'm wrong here, but did all MacBooks have Instant On? Because this thing feels really instant. Like we're talking about, I don't have to turn this thing off ever. It sips battery life like the iPad or like your phone. You don't have to actually turn off your phone. I don't know if you guys know that, probably you do, but I never turn off my laptop now. And every time I want to use it, all I do is just lift the lid, and in like a split second, the screen's up, my hand's on the Touch ID button, and I'm in. It takes no time at all to get logged into your laptop and ready to go. And I think that's really, really valuable, and a thing that a lot of people just don't think about in terms of just getting up and getting ready to use it, you get started in a split second. Like it's just crazy how fast this thing works. Now, the next feature that is gonna need sort of a visual is Sidecar. Now, Sidecar itself, if you don't know, is you transferring your MacBook display to the iPad. But there's one thing that I don't think a lot of people think about when transferring their display over to the iPad. So let me just show you this really quick. Okay, so we have the iPad here and the MacBook here. So let's go ahead and let's put this to its home screen. And let's set up Sidecar. I have my MacBook running here. But one thing that I don't think a lot of people noticed is that you can actually take notes on your iPad, but like pretend like it's the Mac. Okay, so let's say I open up an app like Sketchbook. It's just a basic app from Autodesk. You could just sketch stuff out. Let's say I throw this on the iPad screen, I maximize it, and now I take my pen. So you can actually draw with the pencil, and it's like working on your Mac. It's really weird. I don't think I'm ever gonna actually use this, but I thought this was a really cool feature that I don't think a lot of people really think about. So if I wanted to, for example, go on Zoom and share my screen to someone on Zoom and show them what I'm doing, I can do this as a way of just making it easier, until Zoom obviously supports the iPad, supports the iPad screen sharing, which I don't know if that's ever gonna happen. So yeah, that's just a quick feature that honestly isn't amazing, but it's really cool in just those times where you think you can use it. I'm probably never gonna use this, but for that 0.01% chance that I might, it's really helpful to have. And finally, the last pro, or the last positive that I have for the MacBook is the use of iMessage and FaceTime on my laptop. Now, I just may not be spoiled, and I've been using Windows laptops my entire life, but having FaceTime and iMessage on the MacBook itself is so helpful for just staying organized and staying on top of everything I'm doing. So I don't have to ever grab my phone for anything when I'm on my Mac. I could just literally go on iMessage, message who I need to message, or I could download WhatsApp on my Mac and message whoever I want to message from there on my Mac. I could FaceTime people, I can call people. Everything I could do on my phone, I can now do on my laptop, and it syncs perfectly all the time without fail. And just to put this into perspective, I like having some company when I study. So this morning when I was studying, I FaceTimed like 4 of my friends back to back. And it's just something that if I were to do that on my phone, I would get way distracted because I end up doing other stuff on my phone or doing whatever. But having that just up and studying and taking notes and stuff all from one device, it just, I don't know, I get a lot more productive when doing stuff like that. Doesn't matter as much anymore now that finals are over. Again, thank God. But when I was going through finals, just having the all-in-one device like that, texting and FaceTiming and calling and answering calls and doing everything from one device has been really, really cool. And I just love it. Like, that's one thing that if I go back to a Windows laptop ever, I'm gonna miss that so, so much. Okay, now let's move on to cons. And there aren't much. I'm gonna sort of get through these relatively quickly. Not sure how long this video is, but I know that I tend to ramble. So I wanna make sure I keep it to a minimum so I can I don't know, just more efficiency altogether. And the first con is the battery life for non-optimized apps. And I noticed this when I was compiling LaTeX code. And I don't know if you guys know what LaTeX is, but LaTeX is a way, you think of it as like Word, but more, I don't know how to explain it. If you don't know what LaTeX is, it's a coding language, basically. You can code Word documents. And that's like an easy way to put it. But when I was compiling LaTeX code, my battery life on the Mac would just drop so fast. I started off at, I think, 90%. I was doing a report. I finished a report in like 2 hours, and I was down to like 50. That is a huge, huge drop. And that's probably because it's just not optimized. Now, I was writing the LaTeX code through a website. So maybe the website's not optimized, or just compiling code on the Mac just eats battery life. I'm not too sure, but it is something to look out for. And whenever I'm doing stuff on Zoom, or if I'm on Discord, or if I'm looking at PDFs on Adobe Reader or something, I make sure to have my charger nearby just in case it just decides to start eating away at battery life. It's not perfect. There are some stuff to look out for like that. But when you're using optimized apps, perfect. All the time, it just works every single time and sips battery life like it's nothing. Now, the second con, which isn't technically a con, but it is, I was expecting Apple, when they released their MacBook M1, to do it in a new chassis or a new screen, maybe a 14-inch model, at least for the pros or something. But we didn't see any of that this year. And there's rumors that they're gonna change the design for next year's model, but I just would have loved to see like the revolutionary changes on the interior that they did go and replicate themselves on the exterior as well. I just would have loved to see a different design pretty much. I'm not unhappy with this by any means. The design is great. Like coming from cheap Windows laptops in the past, MacBook's build quality is perfect. Like it's great. So I can't complain much. but I can't say that they have had this design for quite a while now. So I would like to see something new. I would have loved to see it on this model, but we didn't see it, so maybe next year, next generation, they could do something different with that. The third negative is no dual monitor support. And this is something that a lot of people probably won't have an issue with, but me having dual monitors for my desktop, I thought it'd be really cool to get a Thunderbolt dock and connect my Mac to both monitors and work as like a little studio setup and everything. Wasn't able to do that. The Thunderbolt dock that I got connected to both monitors just fine, but the MacBook itself has limitations on how many monitors it could support. It could just be that this is Apple's first crack at a chip like this, and maybe it'll be fixed in the next generation, but it is a negative and it is something to look out for. If you do have a dual monitor setup or a triple monitor setup that you have at home, you won't be able to optimize all those monitors with your single MacBook. And not even the Pros support this. It's just all the MacBook M1s have this limitation right now. And the final con is just the graphics performance overall. And I'm not talking about graphics performance in terms of like video editing or rendering or stuff like that, because it works totally fine for that, but for games in general. I've seen a lot of people play games on the MacBook Air. I'm not one to play games on my Mac. I use my desktop for that if I ever play games to begin with. But it is something to look out for, that if you want to use your MacBook Air as an all-in-one gaming setup, it's just not there yet. There are rumors, again, of the next generation, maybe for the Pros, not the Air, having like a 16-core GPU versus the 7-core GPU in the Air or the 8-core GPU in the Pro. I'm not sure if that's going to happen, but it's something to look out for, that if you do want to play games, if you want to play League, I don't know if it's out for the Mac. I have no idea how these games work on Macs, honestly. Macs and games never went hand in hand for me. That's why I have a Windows computer in general for that. But if you do want to buy this just for gaming, I would skip out on it. And also in general, the game library for Macs is just significantly less than what you would have on a Windows computer. And that's pretty much all the cons. Really, it's nothing compared to how great this device is. So I wouldn't crack any of these cons to make you not buy it unless it's really, really detrimental to what you're using it for. And again, I may not have covered everything. This is just my personal experience with it and what I've used it for, but it's been kicking butt at everything I throw at it, from video editing to doing literally anything. I have thrown anything and everything at this thing, and the one limitation that's sort of holding me back right now is the small amount of storage. At 256 gigs, it's just not great in today's standards. I have a 1 terabyte NVMe SSD on my desktop that cost me like $70, $80. There's no reason why they couldn't have thrown something like that on the Mac, or at least not charge $200 plus for a little bit of extra storage. That's probably where they get most of their money, from the storage options and the upgrade in general. But at least for the Pro, I would have loved to see a 512 gigabyte base model. Again, maybe we'll see it in the next generation with the new design and new chassis and new screen if they do that, but that's just not where we're at today. Hopefully, after this video, I'm gonna be consistent again, because I know I took a little bit of break with finals and stuff. They were really just taking up all my time. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you did enjoy, please leave a like. Please consider subscribing if you enjoyed. And I'll catch you guys in my next video, which should be out within this week for sure. I'm gonna get right back on track, I promise. Okay, thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.